Assalamu alaikum, beautiful, and welcome to today's video in which we are going to be talking about my personal story of how I managed to quit my 9 to 5, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen, thanks to my coaching business. This is for you if you're tired and you're sick of your job. It's killing you inside. You hate it. It's making you feel miserable. It's affecting your health, your spirituality, your social life, your optimism about the future and about this life. And you have this desire to do something else for yourself, but you have a lot of self-doubt and you question whether or not it's possible to have a different life. Let me take you back to 2020, which is when I came back to the UK after being stuck abroad for quite some time. And I came back literally broke. I had already started coaching, but at that point I was not generating enough income for me to live a decent life. So I started looking for a job, and subhanAllah, everyone told me, oh my god, it's COVID, you're gonna struggle so much to find a job. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in his immense generosity, because he is al-Kareem, helped me find a job pretty quickly. Let me tell you something. You know that feeling when you apply for a job, you go to the interview, you're super excited about being chosen by that company, but as soon as you start working there, you start hating it pretty fast. This is what always happens with me when I get employed, subhanAllah. And I'm sorry to any of my employers that might be watching this, but I've always hated working for people. So pretty early on in that job, 9 to 5 paperwork, a lot of admin, I was fed up. But I had told myself I'm gonna work here for a whole year, and that will allow me to get myself a place for me and my daughter, because I was living in a house share at the time, invest in my business and invest in my personal growth. And it was tough. Let me tell you why it was tough. Because I had the hunger of making my coaching business grow, and therefore I was working really hard on different things. I had my 9 to 5, I had my daughter, I had my studies to become a qualified coach, and I also was coaching in my spare time, which was very limited, but I was still doing all of that because for me, staying in that 9 to 5 was never an option. I had that deadline of 1 year, and after 1 year, I told myself I'm out of here. And subhanAllah, I took some massive risks by hiring a business coach and saying yes to a group coaching program that was 6K at the time, and also hiring business mentors from time to time. And by doing these things, and also through Allah's generosity, again, it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I managed to quit that job in 7 months. 7 months. Now, the plan was, as soon as I have 6 months of savings in terms of my expenses, I'm out of here. But because your girl here is not patient, I left even before saving up that amount, with the full trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I was going to get the risk somehow. And the reason why I left before the 1 year mark that I had in mind is because I could see that it was possible to make money from coaching, and I knew that by being in a 9 to 5, I was limiting the growth of my business, and it did not make sense to me anymore. It was time for me to take that leap of faith so that I could allow my business to come to the point where it is today, alhamdulillah. Now, fast forward, the healed sister is now, alhamdulillah, generating enough income for me to afford the lifestyle that I've always dreamt of, to the point where I'm able to send a large amount of money to my sisters when they need it because they're studying and they're not working. I'm able to be there for my family in Morocco. I'm able to take my daughter to trips, to buy her the stuff that she wants without spoiling her, right? But all of these things that I told myself potentially would never happen because I had fear in me, and that fear I think was only coming from shaitan, I'm able to do these things. Now I'm on a 10 days retreat. Last year at the same time of the year, I went to Yemen for a whole month. A whole month I was able to not focus on work and just focus on my spirituality and my religion. And I feel so blessed to be able to do these things that I would not potentially have been able to do if I was employed by someone else, especially by a non-Muslim. I've been able to go to Umrah 3 times for the past 2 years, alhamdulillah. I was able to take my mom with me as well for the first time in her life. All of these blessings, I'm not saying them to boast, I'm just saying them because part of me is wondering, would I have been able to do all of this if I didn't take the risk to give this business everything, to believe in it, to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his ability to grant me what allows me to be a better Muslim? And I think the answer is no. I would not have been able to live this life if I stayed in a 9 to 5. And so if you find yourself being in this dilemma of like, I want a better life for myself, I want to better myself, period. I want to be more feminine. I want to be able to not work every day for someone else to make them rich. I want to be able to pray and spend time in my sajda when I'm praying. I want to be able to read the Quran longer every day. I don't want to feel like I'm rushing through the day and it's every day the same thing and I'm not even feeling like I'm alive in this life. I want to be able to step out of zombie mode, of autopilot, and do what makes me feel alive. If you're thinking that way, I want you to know that there is other opportunities out there for you. It's just a matter of you believing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can make these possibilities accessible to you and having tawakkul in Him. Know that what helped me accelerate the growth of my business, and again, it's all from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but I believe these things have tremendously helped me. Number one was investing in myself and in my business. Because when I think about it and when I look at it, objectively speaking, the times where I was struggling the most with my business and its growth were the times where I was trying to figure it out by myself. Using Google and YouTube as an assistant to my growth. And that did not work well. The minute I started asking people who were ahead of me for their help and their support and their guidance, everything became easier for me, alhamdulillah. So invest in yourself, invest in your business. Don't think that because there's a lot of information online, you don't need to hire professional help. You would hire help to learn how to drive. I mean, it only makes sense that we go and study for a certain field, but when it comes to creating our own business, suddenly we think it's not worth paying for education. It doesn't make sense. Building a business is one of the hardest things that you can do. Building a successful business is one of the hardest things that you can do in this dunya. So invest in your business. Take risks. I took massive risks. Now for you, I'm not saying be irrational and erratic and impulsive and quit your job right now even though you have no sources of income. Not at all. Sit down with yourself. Figure out how much you need to survive every month. How you are going to be able to save a few months of expenses. And that could be by spending less, or it could be by generating money through another job, or it could be by starting this side hustle and charging your services pretty early on. The next thing that I did was showing up no matter how I felt. You know, people have this conception of being an entrepreneur nowadays that's completely erroneous and wrong. That sounds like it's going to be easy and it's not going to take time for me to make 10k per month with my side hustle. If you think like that, bye bye baby. This is not gonna work for you. Building a business is hard. You've gotta want it. You've gotta be hungry for it. Being your own boss does not mean that you get to do anything that you want. It just means that at least you're doing it with the right intention. You're doing it from a place of passion. You're doing it from a place of purpose. That's what makes you want to keep on going. And you're not doing it for someone else. You're doing it for your own sake and the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the sake of your family. So that feels better. But it's definitely not easy. Stop believing people who say that you can make money quickly out there. There's no real shortcut to this. You are going to have to work hard. And there were days where I would go to sleep at like 12 or 1 a.m. and that was normal. That was my routine because I had so much going on. And alhamdulillah, this is not the case anymore. But again, you might have to go through phases like this. Sometimes in order to have a soft life, you have to have a hard life before. Right now, your life is probably already hard anyway. The question is, what type of difficulty do you want? Do you want the difficulty that's going to benefit you in this life and in the next, or the difficulty that's not even serving you in any of the lives? Next tip and thing that I embodied was definitely stop overthinking. I had to take action. And I had to stop thinking about the best thing to do. There's no best thing to do. There's just taking action. Once you start doing that, potentially you make mistakes, but that's okay. You learn from those mistakes. And that's how you grow as a business owner, as a human being. And so if you are an overthinker, I really encourage you to read on how to let go of some of those tendencies. Surround yourself by action takers. And this is where having business mentors and coaches is really beneficial because you're literally paying someone to push you forward. this is what I did. I had too many questions that really were not necessary for me to ask myself. I was trying to be a perfectionist in everything that I did as a business owner, and that was not helping. So stop overthinking, take action. Maybe your first business idea is going to be rubbish. That's fine. At least you will have tried it. If it fails, you can try something else, and you keep on going. You never stop. If you really are an entrepreneur, you are never going to stop until you find the right idea and the right business for you, inshallah. And finally, the last thing that I did was definitely saying yes to a lot of opportunities. So when people started reaching out to me because my content was being shared and they would hear about what I was doing, I said yes to a lot of things. And I made myself visible and I put myself out there. And some of those opportunities I definitely regret saying yes to now. But alhamdulillah, it was written that way, and maybe some of my clients discovered me through those platforms that I shouldn't have worked with, really. So put yourself out there, say yes, and be a yes woman for a few months, and see how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opens doors for you that you yourself you never thought would be possible to see come to life. Again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most generous, so when you ask him for something, expect to witness his generosity. This is something that one of the shuyukh at the retreat that I'm at said today. And obviously make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he facilitates you finding something better for yourself in this life that will eventually be better for your afterlife as well. In conclusion, anything is possible if you rely on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not on yourself. Rely on him. He's the one who makes everything possible. You just have to take action, take a step forward, and he will make things easier for you, inshallah. And also know that things can change so much faster than you think. Okay, don't think that your perception of time is the ultimate perception of time. Allah can change everything in a heartbeat for you if you believe that he can. And with all of that being said, I have to run now because I have to go to an event with Sumia. But if you are ready to become a life coach and you want to do this with people who, alhamdulillah, have done it before you and have done it successfully, then we are opening the doors of the Thriving Coach very soon, so be on the lookout. I might put the application form under the video in the description box below, inshallah. The Thriving Coach will teach you how to have the mindset of a successful business owner, as well as the coaching skills that you need to be a great Muslim coach, as well as some marketing fundamentals that you need to know to start putting your business out there. And the next cohort is starting in September, but we are enrolling pretty soon because spots will fill up, inshallah. So make sure that you apply before it's too late. I've got to run, but I will see you in the next video. Take care.